Alright, today let's learn how to play a match. In my opinion, the easiest ball to attack is always the short ball. When you serve long, you must have the mindset for a rally. For amateur players, the fastest way to improve in matches is to ensure your serve and your follow-up shot are a perfectly matched tactic. Second, on your service return, learn to control your opponent. Don't try to win the point with a single stroke on the return. This is because amateurs primarily use long serves. I'm not saying don't serve long, but you must be prepared for the return. For example, in defense, the more spin you serve, the more spin they'll loop back. So, what should we keep in mind when blocking? Remember these 4 points. Contact at the rising point, use a small motion, press down, and don't use force. After serving, you must have the awareness to defend the next ball. Only then can you serve with confidence. The kids I coach often have this problem. After serving, they just watch to see if the opponent missed. When the ball comes back, they're always caught off guard, not in a state of active defense. Amateurs shouldn't overthink. Plan your first shot, then play what comes. You can't plan 5 shots ahead without systematic training, so just master the first 3-ball attack. That's the first scenario. The second is when they push. Before you serve, you must decide, am I going to loop this ball or not? If not, how will I handle it? If yes, how will I loop it? Don't just react to the ball, because you're not at that level of awareness yet. Professionals can adjust instantly, but amateurs must decide on their plan beforehand. You must anticipate in advance to handle the return calmly. First, let's talk about not looping. If you don't want to make it comfortable for them, you must control them first, then attack the next ball. For instance, I would control the ball to their backhand and then loop the next shot, because even if they attack from the backhand, it won't be very powerful. If you want to bait them into attacking, push to their middle or the wide forehand corner. Let them loop, and you just vary your push placement. If their weight is on one side, push to their forehand. If their weight is on the other, push to the middle. The third option is to commit to looping. After my serve, I must initiate the attack. In that case, if you serve heavy backspin and they push it back, you must step back and loop with heavy spin to lift the ball. After a long serve, you must be ready to loop with heavy spin. Even if their return is high, it will be extremely spinny because your serve had so much spin. Observe how most amateurs push these long serves. They meet the ball early and use the incoming pace. This return is both long and spinny. Don't assume a high ball has no spin. Since you served heavy backspin, if you just hit it flat, it will go into the net. If you serve a no-spin ball that comes back high, then you can smash it. So, give yourself one command for the return: I must loop with spin. Either don't attack, or if you do, you must brush the ball. Your tactic has to match your serve, or you'll fall victim to your own spin. Professionals are different. They read the ball. If it's high, they smash. If it's low, they loop. It's subconscious after over a decade of training. Amateur players must have a plan. What do I want to do with this ball? What is the purpose of my serve? After I serve, it's best if they miss. If not, do I want to bait an attack, control them for a 3rd-ball attack, loop it myself, or block their loop? They only have these few options. When you can shut down all their possible return paths, your serve will be unstoppable. Skills can be developed. If you can't loop, practice looping. If you can't push, practice pushing. The real problem is having great technique but poor strategy. The fear is having all the skills but being unable to use any of them in a real match. Next, let's discuss the long backhand side topspin serve. You need a tactic where they pop the ball up if they try to push it. Mimic an amateur service for me. If I push, you must be ready to loop. If I do a short push, you must step in. If I loop, you must be ready to block. This kind of unpredictable return is the hardest to attack, because you have to cover the whole table and be ready for any placement and spin, short, high, low, or long. Therefore, your serves must have distinct, clear spin, forcing your opponent into a single, predictable return. For example, if you serve short backspin to their backhand, they'll hit the net if they flick and make an error if they use a banana flick. This forces them to push. Once they push, you can prepare to loop a backspin ball anywhere on the table. This makes it much easier. If you serve topspin and they push, the ball will fly off. They are forced to flick or banana flick, which turns the return into a topspin ball. When you know the incoming spin, your preparation becomes much easier. If their return can be either topspin or backspin, combined with varied placement, you'll break down and lose composure. So, players, you must generate clear spin. If you can't serve topspin with your pendulum serve, stop practicing it for now. A hook serve is great for topspin. If I'm a beginner, I'll just serve a fast, long ball. At least they can't push it. This is how you build tactics. At higher levels, you don't win on serve errors, they adapt quickly. The game is always about the next ball. First, you must be able to serve side topspin. If you can't, start by practicing a fast, long serve to master the topspin component. Second, it must be fast, because a slow ball allows them to use power. Your serve needs to be fast enough to force an error if they try to attack it. Third, you must have 3 placement options. A fast, long serve is truly effective for amateurs. Building on the fast serve, you can add a hook motion for a hook serve. The principle is the same for pendulum and backhand serves. Once you have speed, they won't dare to use full power. Plus, they can't push it down, they can only block or drive it back. This type of return has the same pace as our backhand counter drills, which means you can generate quality on your follow-up shot. They simply won't have enough time. The reason you can't execute this tactic now is because your serve either has no spin, unwanted backspin, or is too slow, preventing you from making a quality follow-up. This is why you lose matches, you're put on the defensive right from the start. How do you expect to win? With a side topspin serve like this, I'm committing to a plan. I'll serve side topspin and then attack the return with full power. It doesn't matter if I miss, this is my game plan. In a match, I might miss this shot 10 times, but after 10,000 times, I'll make it. Then you'll no longer fear this situation. Then, you can mix inside backspin. I serve backspin, they miss. I serve topspin, they start misreading your spin. Why do they misread your spin? Because they're afraid of your follow-up attack. If you have no follow-up threat, they'll just safely push the ball back. Against a topspin serve, they'll just touch it back. They're just waiting for you to make an error on your attack. Why would they try to add quality or loop you? Because if they just push, you'll loop them, and they can't block it. So they are forced to find another solution. I can't just push anymore, I have to loop. This is when their unforced errors will appear. If they just block your topspin serve and you attack them, they'll think, I have to hit it harder, and that's how they make mistakes. If they just push it back, and they know you can't loop, why would they ever misread your serve? They will simply focus on getting the ball on the table. You must have a strong follow-up shot to make your opponent fear your serve. When your follow-up shot shuts down their options, their service return will start to break down. If your serve and follow-up are weak, their return will become relaxed and confident. Look at professionals, the receiver is always afraid of a counter loop, so they step around to power loop, which opens up the forehand corner. If you push, they'll power loop. This forces you to use the banana flick, but that increases your chance of error. So, always have a plan after your serve. Even if you can't make the shot now, just think, after this side topspin serve, I must attack with power and change direction. For this, I might use a fast, long serve and just practice this one sequence. At the beginning, that's okay if you can only manage a soft touch. When practicing changing direction, maybe you can only touch it softly. That's fine, nobody gets it right from the start. If the return comes to my forehand and I have no reaction time, that's also fine. Gradually, you'll start to react and be able to hit the shot, which is a great start. Every shot is a progression through 4 stages: see, move, hit, and generate power. But if you don't even try to execute these plays, you will always avoid these types of shots. Soon, every ball that comes back will feel like you're receiving a new serve all over again. To set up an attack on a half-long ball, you need deception. Serve like this, and it comes back half-long because they thought it was backspin. This is how I create the opportunity to attack that ball. This shot is also part of my tactics. As long as I serve with a low trajectory and some deception, they will push it high, and I can attack. I'll practice this one shot every single day. It's fine if they flick it back, because they can't use much power on a flick, so I can still attack it. And there's your tactic. Because if they push, it goes high, they can only push or flick, and the flick is the least powerful attack, which means I can power loop it. So I'll use this serve. When they push it high, I power loop. For now, amateurs should focus on mastering attack on the first, third, and fifth balls, and receive on the second, fourth, and sixth balls. A tactic I often use: I serve short backspin, first ball. The opponent pushes, second ball. I loop, third ball. They block, fourth ball, and then I attack again, fifth ball. After serving, I'll loop with heavy spin because it's consistent. I serve a spinny ball, loop it back with spin, and then smash the next one. So, that's serve, first, loop with heavy spin, third, and power loop, fifth. The third ball is a spinny loop, the fifth ball is a power loop. How can they defend against that change of pace? Now, which is easier to add power to, a ball blocked back by your opponent, or a ball they pushed? Of course, the blocked ball is easier. Therefore, you should choose a spinny loop for your third ball and save the power loop for the fifth. The kind of power loops you see in videos are edited. Let me give you an example. Missed the loop? Cut. Do it again. Missed again? Cut. They keep looping until they make one, and that's the clip that gets posted. The power loops you see are likely a few successful shots edited from over 10 games of footage. If you're an amateur player, you should focus on consistency and smart table tennis, not brute force. Use technique and win points through tactics. That kind of joy is like chess. You win because you anticipated their move, which is a different kind of satisfaction.